Right. Let's talk about a really powerful architectural pattern called CQRS. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Another acronym, another trend. But we're not going to treat it like that. Today, we're going to look at CQRS as a vital correction to a huge mistake that's, frankly, baked into the heart of so many software systems out there.
And hey, that's not just me saying it. This is the core idea we're digging into. It's a pretty bold statement, right? But stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to see exactly why it's so true. So, what is this fundamental mistake we're talking about?
Well, the mistake is this. For decades, a lot of us have been building systems using one single model to do two completely different and often conflicting jobs. We've basically been forcing one tool to do the work of two, and it just doesn't work well. Okay, let's break this down. On one hand, you've got the job of changing data, your rights. This side of the model needs to be like a super strict security guard. Its job is to enforce all the business rules, validate every single input, and carefully, meticulously change the system's state. For this job, correctness is everything. But then, on the other hand, you have the job of reading data. And its job is the total opposite. It needs to be a lightning-fast delivery service. It has to be lean, optimized, and just serve up data to users instantly, especially when traffic is high. And this is where it all starts to fall apart. When you force one model to be both a meticulous guard and a world-class sprinter, you don't really get either one. You end up with a mess of compromises. Your business logic gets tangled up with read optimizations, and your read performance gets dragged down by the weight of rules it doesn't even need. The result? A system that's clunky, way too complex, and just a total nightmare to scale. So, how do we fix this deep-seated problem? Well, the solution is actually beautifully simple. We separate the commands from the queries.
And this brilliant correction has a name, CQRS. It stands for Command Query Responsibility Segregation. It's an architectural pattern that does exactly what it sounds like. It segregates, or separates, the responsibilities. Commands are for writing data. Queries are for reading it. Simple as that. And this is where you really see the magic happen. This is the after picture. The command side can now focus only on its one true job, validating and changing state with absolute integrity. Your write model can be this rich, beautiful thing full of complex business logic. And meanwhile, the query side is totally free to be a speed demon. It can read from a completely separate, optimized data store that's built for one thing and one thing only, high-speed delivery. Each model gets to excel at what it was meant to do. So, we've separated them. Why does this actually matter in the real world? Well, this separation has an immediate and really powerful payoff. First off, you get this incredible clarity. Your command model becomes a pure, clean representation of your business logic. Your query models are just simple, efficient buckets of data. And this gives your developers so much freedom. You need a new report for the CEO or a different way to show data on the new mobile app? No problem. You just spin up a new optimized query model, and you can do it all without ever having to touch or worse, break the core business logic on the command side. And if you want to take this to the next level, you can pair CQRS with another pattern called event sourcing. When you do that, every single change in your system is recorded as a permanent event. This gives you a massive bonus, a complete tamper-proof audit log of everything that's ever happened. Every action becomes perfectly traceable. It's a game changer. Look, this isn't just about making your code look pretty. The real-world impact here is huge. We're talking about fundamental improvements to performance, scale, and even your ability to stay compliant. This right here is probably one of the biggest wins of CQRS. See, in most applications, you have way more reads than you have writes. A good rule of thumb is if your read-to-write ratio is something like 10-to-1 or even higher, it's time to think about this. Without CQRS, everything scales together. But with it, you can scale them independently. If your reads are the bottleneck, you can just throw more servers at the query side without ever touching the write side. This is the secret to getting massive, cost-effective scalability. So let's just boil it down to the key benefits that really matter. You get that incredible scalability we just talked about. Your users get a much faster, snappier experience because your queries are hyper-optimized, and your ability to meet compliance and audit requirements becomes rock solid. These are the kinds of benefits that directly impact the business's bottom line. Okay, after hearing all those amazing benefits, it's really easy to get carried away and think this is the silver bullet for every single project. But it's not. So we need to do a quick reality check. You've got to be honest with yourself and ask, does my system's complexity actually justify this separation? Because with all this power comes a bit of extra architectural complexity you have to manage. And here's the bottom line on when to use it and when not to. If you're just building a simple app that needs to create, read, update, and delete data, a basic CRUD system, CQRS is almost certainly overkill. Don't do it. But if you're building a high-stakes platform, like a banking system or a massive e-commerce site, where correctness and performance are both absolutely non-negotiable, then CQRS isn't just nice to have, it's often essential. It's for those systems where you simply cannot afford to have performance and correctness fighting each other. And that really brings us home. At the end of the day, CQRS is a strategic choice. It's an architecture that plans for the future. It's the pattern that stops complexity from completely taking over your system, especially as your user traffic explodes and your business rules inevitably change and grow over time. It corrects that fundamental mistake, and it allows your system to evolve with strength, clarity, and purpose.